here. Okay, next slide, please. For you Spanish students, we will still have our Spanish conversation partners, our language assistants that are recent university graduates or university students here at the local university that come into the classrooms and help with language acquisition. Again, depending on the size of the group that we end up having, we might see different kinds of modifications that will be made to that, but we will still have those Spanish conversation partners in order to integrate that kind of cultural aspect of the program that we offer here. And then for everybody, and Dr. Pink mentioned this a second ago, any personal travel is going to have to be approved. It's going to have to go through Dr. Pink, the resident director here, and registration of it is always required. We always ask that you register. We have a Google Doc that you'll fill out in order for us to know where you're going, when you'll be there, who all's going, just so that in case anything happens, we have an idea of where you are, and we can make sure to provide you as much support as possible in the event that something were to happen. But one of the things that I would say that was mentioned earlier is that a lot of the big name cities, Rome, Paris, places that people might be trying to travel to in other semesters that you might not have as much ease of access to, is going to really open the door to see just a ton of beautiful places here in Spain, really hidden gems for all of Europe, not just this country. And we're going to try to kind of help with that as well in the adaptation of some of the excursions that we have, visiting local beaches, mountain towns, places that we wouldn't normally be visiting because we're trying to check off big name places off of our list. But now you'll be able to see some places that have just a really truly beautiful, rich cultural heritage that you wouldn't otherwise see. So it really is kind of a unique opportunity to take this semester really in a positive light. Another huge positive to kind of come out of this is the housing situation that you'll find yourself in. Normally, most housing situations, you would be sharing a room with another student. Now, the case is that each student will have their individual room within the host family house, and there will be a minimum of 2 bathrooms, meaning that there will be at least 1 bathroom designated specifically for students, which isn't always the case. And so you'll have your own space. Another thing is that all these houses are going to be within at least a 20-minute walk of the center, which, I mean, walking through the city here is beautiful in and of itself, but you will not have to take public transportation, is what that kind of means. While the public transportation here is very safe, the protocols that they have in place have been extremely effective. You will only have to have a 20-minute walk in order to get to the center if you'd like to avoid public transportation. The center being the TTU center, that is. And then clear hygiene guidelines and emergency protocols are in place, and we will talk more specifically about those whenever you get here, but your host families will be thoroughly informed of those, and you can look up some more specifics on the website, as I'll reference probably another couple of times throughout this presentation, but just so that you have a clear understanding of what's expected of you in order to make this the safest semester possible, okay? Both at the TTU Center and within your host families. So specific protocols regarding COVID. In the case of a positive test, this is within the TTU Sevilla family, students, faculty, staff, host families. The individual will be isolated following local health authority protocols that we've used to base our TTU Sevilla protocols on, and in order to make sure that everybody stays safe. And again, that this is going to be determined by cohort, and you can really read in depth if you'd like to within the COVID protocols that are on the website. Medical care will be provided by Sanitas, your health insurance, which is going to be covering you in the event of all different cases, but including COVID, obviously. And alternate housing may be provided based on a case-by-case basis. So that's something, if it does come to that, your meals will still be provided for, and everything as advertised within the program will still be maintained. Instruction will continue remotely. You won't be missing your classes. You won't be missing your meals. Everything will be taken care of if that is the case, just so that you are aware. And again, I'll reference the protocols that are on the website if you'd like to kind of go through those with a fine-tooth comb in your own time. but just to kind of give you a basic overview so that you are fully aware of what will be expected and what you can expect whenever you're here. Next slide, please. And just to kind of, tie a bow around this, you're not escaping COVID. Obviously this is, as all of you I'm sure are well aware, this is a worldwide thing, and you're just going to a different environment where it's being handled differently. And so we expect you to have the same responsibility and comply with all the local laws here in Sevilla, apart from the TTU protocols that we've put in place in order to make sure that you're staying safe, that we're all staying safe, and that there isn't any question as far as what's being expected. And of course, just to mention it, any non-compliance with these protocols, be it local laws or TTU Seville protocols, will result in expulsion from the program. But of course, I don't think that. We certainly hope that that won't be the case.
Okay, so I'm going to just kind of close my section of the presentation now, and then I think before the faculty will talk, Lana is going to talk a little bit about the visa process. But we here in Sevilla are really looking forward to your arrival. We've adapted and are really looking forward to getting back to what we do best, which is provide a meaningful educational experience and an unforgettable experience, a learning experience for you all. And we feel very comfortable that we can do so safely right now. So that's, why we're opening the doors and say, come on, the world is adapted. So have we, and we're ready for you, okay? Just more than ever, your cohort, your study abroad cohort is going to be your family away from home. We're going to be looking out for each other, taking really good care of you, hoping that you have a meaningful experience. It's going to be different. If you had a friend that studied abroad 2 years ago, obviously it's going to be a lot different. But some of those things that perhaps they did that you're not going to be able to do is going to pave the way for you to do some things that they never had the chance to do, which is really have a much more true immersion experience in the language and the culture in the city, and to just really inhabit this beautiful city and get to know it and live in it and take it in for 4 months. So I just wanted to close kind of our section of the presentation with this quote: "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way," right? So, just kind of think about that. We're very excited for you. And Lana, I think I'll turn it over to you now if you're ready to talk about the visas.
Perfect, thank you. Yes, so 2 things I want to talk to you about. One, I want to remind you that the commitment deadline is fast approaching. That is going to be on the 15th of this month. So several of you have already committed, which is great. And for those of you who have not, I just want to remind you, you don't have to complete every portion of the application before you commit. You can commit whenever you're ready and then continue working on your application. You have quite a bit of time to get all of that done. So don't feel rushed through that process. And then at the end, we'll have plenty of time for questions. So if you have any questions about your application or what it means to commit, of course, you can ask me at that time. Then the next thing is the update on our visa workshop. So when I met with your own groups during the group advising process, I told you all that the date was going to be on October 20th, that it could change. But for those of you who have not been updated, it is absolutely still happening on October 20th at 5 o'clock here in person in the Office of International Affairs. We have plenty of parking for all of you, and it's after hours. So I know many of you were hoping that it would be in person so you can meet each other before you go to Spain. And I'm eager to meet those of you that I haven't met in person as well. At that session, we will discuss, of course, the visa process. That will take about half of the time. But the next portion of that evening, we're going to go back through details of your program and use that opportunity for y'all to meet each other and get to know who's from the same parts of Texas or from the same areas, so you have somebody that you can fly with. We're going to talk in detail about the travel process and the arrival process and how that looks and a timeline. So the step-by-step way that that you're going to navigate that. So don't feel overwhelmed just now hearing about how you fly and what to avoid and what it's going to look like when you get to the hotel. We're going to continue talking about that in person at that session. So make sure that you have that in your calendar. I will send another reminder to you all via email, but the visa process is mandatory for everybody to go through. And there's only one event. So if you are in Lubbock, then I will see you all in your faces on October 20th in person. For those of you who are not in Lubbock, then I will be sending you out your visa packet. Please look for an email from me requesting your mailing address because I'm going to send those out pretty soon. And lastly, if any of you are not U.S. passport holders, I've already told you this all in person, but I've only received one student's passport and visa, U.S. visa documents via email. I need you to send those to me as soon as possible so I can advocate for you to the consulate and see if I'm able to process your visa on your behalf. So go ahead and send me a good color copy of your passport and of your U.S. visa status so I can get that started for you. I think that is it, but of course, if we have any questions at the end, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay. Do any of the faculty want to say anything before we open it up for questions?
I guess I'll introduce myself. My name is Will Vodry. I'll be teaching the first half of any of the lower level classes are taken, so 1607. I actually studied abroad 3 years ago in the spring. So I'm pretty familiar with at least part of what we're going to be doing there. And I'm looking forward to getting to go there as an instructor now and explore Spain with y'all.
Hello, everybody. I just wanted to introduce myself too. I am Gemma. I am going to be teaching the class right after Will's class, 2607. I am from Spain, actually from the north, from León, so I'm familiar with Spain. And yeah, I'm very excited to meet you all and be in Spain together.
Yeah, I'm Susan Larson. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, good. So I'm teaching the 3000 level courses, and I'm just I really thrilled. First of all, thank you so much to the whole Sevilla team for putting this incredibly helpful presentation together. I think we're all are just full of questions about what our lives are going to be like. I think I've been to Spain every year for almost 25 years. Spain is a part of my professional life and my personal life. So, and it's going to be a very rare opportunity to be in Spain with fewer tourists. I don't know. It's going to be really great, actually, in a lot of ways, to enjoy the city in ways that we probably wouldn't have been able to before. And I just want to stress, in the courses that the students are taking with me, I specialize in cities and architecture and Spanish culture. So, you know, Sevilla is it's hard to express what an amazing place it is. You're going to live in a city of about the fourth largest city in Spain. It's a big, big city. It's about 700,000 people, I believe, nowadays. But it's a city that's extremely 21st century, very, very modern. But it's a city that was there in the 2nd century with the Romans. So you're going to live in a place that's been a city since the 2nd century, since it's kind of mind-blowing to even think about it. It's on a river called the Guadalquivir River. So a lot of the architecture that you're going to see when you walk through the city, you're just going to be in the 16th century. So what's fun about this is that you're walking through space, but you're also walking through time. So the classes that I'm going to teach are going to be place-based. which means we'll have short readings. We will see films and videos to familiarize ourselves with some kind of basic concepts of urban theory and how cities work. I'm particularly interested, because I know a lot of you are STEM students, interested in issues of urban sustainability, ecological issues, how cities as old as Sevilla are adapting to the 21st century in terms of water use, recycling, things like that. But we're doing it with a very cultural lens. One of Spain's most important graphic artists, his name is Miguel Brieva. He happens to be from Sevilla. So, and I'm reading detective novels about Sevilla. Actually, this one's called El Asesino de la Regaña, which it means the regaña is like a piece of hard bread that people eat as a kind of a snack, I believe. The Sevillanos will tell me if I'm wrong, but it's called the regaña killer. So, because detective novels are great ways to learn, to read, are great books to read, to learn about the city. So anyway, these are the kind of things that we'll be doing in class, and then we will have the incredible joy and luxury of being able to go out into the street together and see for ourselves and kind of smell for ourselves and feel for ourselves and just get this 5 sensory experience of everything that we've just read. I think I'm enormously excited about it. I think it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful semester. One more thing. My heart just leapt when I learned that I would be teaching with Gema Lopez Hebia and with Will Vaudry, because I think you'll be in very good hands with our instructors and our professors there. So no, that's it. I can't wait to meet you. Thank you so much, Sarah, Lana, Whitney, and John and Miriam for putting this session together. It's been incredibly helpful and very comforting.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think that's everyone. Anybody else want to present anything? If not, we'll just open it up for questions. So feel free, go ahead. I know you probably have tons of questions at this point in time. Now, some of you look familiar. I know I'm recognizing a few faces of a couple of you that tried to come for this fall. Good to see you again.
So I have a question for Jonathan. Can you talk to the students about what life is going to be like inside their host families' houses during COVID?
Sure, yeah. I mean, like I mentioned, I think one of the things that is a huge difference that I think everybody will be able to appreciate is your own room. That's Spanish host families. The houses here are, it's urban living, so the houses themselves are they're flats, really, so they're more like apartments, and so they're smaller houses, smaller rooms, and while students typically are 2 to a room in most houses, in most cases, that's not going to be the case this semester, and so you'll have your own room, and I think that's a huge plus that a lot of people would be able to kind of get along with. But the host family experience, I think that's one of the things that's the most well, there's so many different aspects, I feel like, of a program study abroad that end up being just totally enriching and like the favorite piece of the program. But for me, I feel like the host family experience is a chance for you to truly get an inside view of the culture. You're not staying in a hostel or a hotel, and so you're eating the food that they're preparing for you. I think the Office of International Affairs is preparing a cookbook right now of all these different international recipes. The number of recipes that you'll come home with, of Spanish recipes, that is, of like paella and pescadito and all these different Spanish dishes. If you truly embrace it and go to the kitchen with your Spanish mama in order to learn what they're cooking and learn how they're cooking it, not only is it a chance for you to like see how they interact with each other and with you, which is very different than the way we do, I feel like. But you know, it's such a chance to engage with the language if you're a language student, or with, you know, with the cuisine, with just, you know, so many different aspects of the culture that are incorporated in a host family experience that I feel like are kind of, you know, are taken for granted sometimes. But you know, if you can truly embrace it, it's a really awesome experience. So um, yeah.
Peyton.
So I know in the past you had like another student that you lived with, right? Is that still happening since we have our own room, or is it just going to be us and the host family?
Yeah, so the bigger houses will still be able to have 2 students. There won't be more than 2 students per house. So it's, but you will have your own rooms this time. So the houses that are capable, unfortunately, we're actually losing some good houses because, not losing them, but they'll only be able to have one because of that new requirement that we have, that it's just 1 student per room. But up to 2 students per house. So if they have you know, if they have 2 rooms that can be designated for students, then there can be 2 students there.
Juliet, did you have a question, or yeah?
I see some, yeah. Oh, go ahead. I see some questions in the chat. First, Juliet, and then we'll answer the ones in the chat.
Okay, yeah, I accidentally typed that before I finished saying what it was, but I just want to triple check that we need to have our passports in our hand at the visa workshop.
So if you have it, that's a great question. If you have it here in Lubbock, then yeah, you should go ahead and bring it, because it's going to make a lot more sense to you. If it is back home, then you need to make sure you have it in Lubbock, ideally by the end of October. And those of you who are still waiting for your passports to come in, you can't really rush that process. So don't worry if you don't have it at the visa workshop. You'll just have to take good notes so you know exactly what to fill in each box. And of course,
Okay.
I'll help you as well. Does that answer that?
Yes.
Okay.
And I do see your question about the quarantine as well.
Yeah.
No, Spain has not required a quarantine of anybody upon opening back up. And so there is no quarantine. I mean, you know, who knows, one day before arrival, so they could say quarantine. But no, Spain does not have a history, you know, in this thing of requiring quarantine. You will have to figure it, and I have received this, but I don't have all of the details about it. I think within 72 hours of you flying, there's a form that you have to fill out online with kind of your health status or whatever. It's nothing like, you don't need a doctor or anything to fill it out, but there is a form that you fill out as a student coming on a student visa to Spain.
Okay.
You will have to do. And one thing, I don't know if anybody's planning on coming, and Lana may cover this, you can't arrive more than 15 days early with your student visa. So anybody thinking they're going to come and spend Christmas or something like that, just know that they're not going to let you in 15 days until 15 days prior to your visa date.
Yeah, you're likely not going to get your passports back. So your visa is a sticker that goes inside your passport book, and you're likely not going to get that passport back until the beginning of January anyway. But you cannot come in early, but you can stay late. And that's to answer Samantha's, or I don't know, somebody's question. You have 180 days in Spain, so you can do the math yourself. You have until around the very end, beginning of July, end of June or beginning of July, before you have to leave Europe on your visa.
So that's Europe in general, not just Spain, correct?
It is, yes. But I think traveling into each country could look a little different depending on what their COVID protocols are. So we can't advise you at this time about traveling outside of Spain, but your student visa is for Spain only. It's not for any European country. Traditionally, U.S. passport holders can travel to most every country, I mean all countries in Europe, with or without that student visa. But you'll want to just wait until you get there, and you'll get to learn a little bit more about what it looks like to travel in those countries.
that's one of the reasons too why we're requiring permission or approval for travel, because we want to make sure that you're familiar, or that, you know, there could be restrictions. Like there's a restriction I read in the newspaper in this one little town in Spain, you know, that's like 3 hours away from us. You probably wouldn't know that, right? But just in case, we're watching all of those things, trying to watch out for you too, so you don't kind of get into some sort of pickle with movement and traveling. I will go back. There's some questions about dressing and things. Okay, I don't know what you normally tell students, Lana, but I'm going to say pack one suitcase, because you're not going to have that much room in your house. Houses, bedrooms are a lot smaller. So if you can pack one suitcase, pack one suitcase. It is a little hard for the spring because you're going to go through seasons. It is going to be, you're going to need winter clothes when you get here. The winter is very mild. It doesn't ever go below freezing in Sevilla, but the buildings here are cold. Central heating is not necessarily a thing. There may be space heaters in some parts of buildings or some parts of houses, thick walls, marble floors. I mean, if it's 55 and there's no heat and there's a marble floor, it's cold, right? So you'll need warm clothes. Layering, think layering. Everybody tends to buy some things too. I think there was a question earlier about how to dress to not look like a tourist. Fashion is converging a little bit these days. It's not as different as it was, say, 10 years ago. So most of your clothes are going to probably be okay. They tend to dress maybe a notch fancier than you do. Wearing gym clothes out and about is not really a thing here. People tend to just save their gym clothes for the gym. Although who knows, I don't know. I think like with this quarantining and people spending more time at home, we may be seeing more of that too. But just maybe kind of a notch up. Comfortable shoes, you're gonna be doing a lot of walking. So make sure your shoes can withhold the walking test.
You will all get a packing list from me at the Visa workshop. So we will talk in good detail about what to not bring, what you absolutely have to bring, and money and phones and all of those things. So it's just a little too soon normally in the process to talk about this, because you're going to forget by January 8th when you actually start packing. So just keep in mind there's plenty of time for those questions, but we're happy to answer anything right now, of course.
I see a question, will I be able to leave the day that I take my last final exam? So there is on the calendar the last day of class. I don't know if you've gone over the calendar, how much you've gone over it with Lana in previous meetings.
I mean, a little bit, yeah.
So we've allowed, because we don't really know what's going to happen this spring with Semana Santa and Feria. There was something that came out in the newspaper today about Semana Santa. They're trying to do some sort of public ceremonies to not have to do away with Semana Santa entirely. They have not announced a cancellation of Feria. I imagine if they have it, it's going to be very, very modified. But we have built it into the calendar in case the situation permits. So your classes really end before Feria, but we've allowed you that time and your host families, and it's part of the program in case you want to stay and take advantage of that. So you certainly can stay here, but once your classes are over, you don't have to stay in Sevilla. You can leave. But I would make sure that you're with your professor, like you're pretty certain when your final exam is before you make those plans. More questions?
Yeah, and there was a question about cash and money. Most places are using ATM, or excuse me, credit cards now, or accept credit cards, and some actually even require them. But yes, you will have access to ATMs here. There's ATMs all throughout the city. So
you can use Apple Pay at most places too, if any of you are doing that. I mean, it was something I started doing during the pandemic, realizing most places were taking it. It's very easy. And you can do that most places as well.
Yeah, and as Miriam mentioned earlier as well, whenever you get here, it'd be wise to have at least about 50 euros in cash, just in case.
But a word of advice about the 50 euros, You probably don't want a 50 € bill. If they can
Yeah.
give it to you in 2020 and a 10, in case you're in a taxi or you have to take a bus or something, they may get really ugly about providing change
Having to
or
bring
may
it.
not provide change. I mean, the taxis aren't required to provide change for 50s. So. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Uber, yes. Lyft, I don't know. There's Cabify. Is that a thing in the US, Cabify?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Not in Lubbock.
Okay. Well, they have Uber and Cabify here. And it works. I mean, I've used all of them, Uber, Cabify, taxis. There's a My Taxi app that so you can get like the taxi app on your phone. It works a lot like Uber as well. But yeah, that'll works. And you don't actually, if you have an Uber account, you don't have to change it. You just log on to Uber and it picks up your location.
This is kind of silly, but like I use Amazon Prime a lot. Is there something like similar to that?
So
Go ahead, Sarah.
you can go ahead, Jonathan. I know.
No, well, you're I don't know. It's been a while now actually since I ran into that problem. But
So I don't think I can say this. The Prime from the US doesn't carry over to Prime in Spain. So if you wanted to if you're going to order a lot from Amazon.es, which is what you would want to do here because you want to avoid the customs duties. So you're not going to want to order from Amazon.com. In Spain, you're going to want to order from Amazon.es. And they have their own Prime system. So if you're going to order a lot, it might be worth paying I don't know, I think it's 30 or 40 euros.
Yeah. Students, I think, can get it for free.
Oh,
Not 100% sure if you can in Spain, but probably. You can look
I don't
into
know.
it. But it's the same thing. It's just you have to have a separate account for the Spanish side. But it works the same, and you can get almost as many things there as you can here.
Okay, that's what I want to know. Thank you.
Are we going to interact with Spanish students, the architecture students from Spain? Are you in architecture, Noah? Yes. Okay. So is anybody taking this? So the interaction with the Spanish students basically is a part that's built in for the Spanish programs. If you want to do that though, if you are interested in participating in the tutors, which is something we have in the evenings, let us know, let Miriam know. She's in charge of that and we can certainly work that out for you. But it's not built into the architecture classes. Now, if you do take the survival Spanish class, which I believe is still being offered, I think. If you take the survival Spanish class, and that's open to architecture students as well, then you will have the conversation partners, the Spanish students that are coming to your class, and it will be part of that class to do the evening sessions, the afternoon, I should say. Our concept of time is a little bit different, the afternoon sessions with them. So architecture students.
Sorry, I'm.
Yeah, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to know if we were going to get to like meet other like students in Spain. Like, are we going to get to hang out with the architecture class in Spain?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's built in. You'd have to talk to your faculty about that. They may do some activities. They bring in a lot of faculty from the College of Architecture and bring in a lot of local architects. Angel Martinez, who is the co-leader of the program with Elisandra Garcia, is from Sevilla, teaches at the College of Architecture as well. So that may be something that they can set up as part of class, but it's not part of the program. You know, it's not an exchange. There's not an exchange program that you can set up.
You also have like 8 hours of free time a day, ballpark. So you've got plenty of time to, network within students of your own cohort and for any student that's at the Civil Center.
So Sevilla, I see a question about assault and stuff. Okay, so Sevilla is actually a very safe city. I feel very safe here. You're going to want to take certain precautions, and we'll go over this more in orientation when you get here. It's certainly okay to walk out and about on your own. You're going to all be living in safe areas of the city. Our center is located in a very safe area. Obviously, if you are out late, you don't want to walk home by yourself. Running as I mentioned earlier, I got confused with afternoon and evening. Times are a little bit different. So it gets dark. The sun comes up later. So you probably don't want to go for a run at 6 a.m. by yourself. It's going to be dark and there's going to be nobody on the street here at 6 a.m. You may want to think about the times that you do something like with that, but 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., which may sound late to you, is a safer time for going out for a run like that, but it's very safe. So we don't have a gym. We can recommend places, local gyms, where you can get a gym membership, you know.
I have a random question. What time is it in Sevilla right now?
It's almost 8 p.m. So you can see behind me, I have a window. It's just getting dark right now.
You should add Seville everybody should add Seville to your weather app and your clock app so you can be informed.
Yeah, we're 7 hours ahead.
Beautiful weather.
What's the weather there today?
It's hot.
Even though I do have Seville on my weather app, but
it was hot. I was out at like 5:30 and it was pretty hot in the sun. It was about 85.
Yeah, I was gonna say couldn't have been that bad.
It was 85. I mean, you know, last week it was 75. It was hot. I mean, it was in the 80s. Last week it was cooler, but October is a weird month. It's usually hot though, still in October.
Is there any chatter happening in Seville around Feria or Semana Santa?
I saw in the paper today that the mayor said something about Semana Santa. I think it's kind of a given that we're not going to be able to have Semana Santa and Feria as normal.
Really.
And so there was some nod to, they're looking at different things to do, like different models for Semana Santa so that people can go out in the street and see the images.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, they don't have it's hard for me to envision that with the masses, how they're going to limit it, but we won't have tourists or people coming from apart. So no, we don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but there is talk, they're beginning to talk about that. And I think there's now this tendency to modify rather than just do away with everything. Feria, I don't know how they can, unless there's like a vaccine and it just goes away by Feria, you know. Which, who knows, maybe that'll happen. And we'll end with Feria.
Good way to end. Cool. Okay, any other questions?
For the I-6 card, do we apply for it on the i6.com or i6.org? Because the link in the application says it's down.
That's not good. Hang on a second. I think it's .org. Hang on 1 second. I mean, this is, I think that maybe it's just down. Give it a couple of days and see if it'll come back up. You definitely have time. So maybe if it's not up by the visa workshop, then we can look into what to do at that point in time. But it is .org, just to answer that. Yeah, that's a good question. And also, I know the last group, so students who were planning to go in the fall actually told me this, which are several of you. They, through COVID, were not sending out the physical card anymore, just the digital card, which is fine. And you'll have to bring your driver's license and your TTU ID with you to Seville, which you would anyway. But don't get stressed out when they say, oh, we're not doing the cards anymore. You still will pay the same amount for the digital card. Jake, when did you, oh, .com. Well, maybe you ordered it from a scam website. Hang on, no, I'm just joking. Let me look. And maybe they've changed it. I don't know. How much did you pay, Jake?
$20. The link was down. I just looked it up like by myself and it pulled up.
Yeah, I mean, then I'm sure it's fine. It's not, there really aren't scams that I've ever seen about it. And it's pretty easy to understand once you get into it. So at the Visa workshop, if you want to wait until then, that's totally fine. I can pop it up on the screen to show you exactly what it's supposed to look like. Jake, did you get your digital card like immediately from them already?
No, they had to approve me for like 2 days or something.
Yeah, okay, so we can use somebody's as an example of what it's supposed to look like when you get it in. Okay, anything else?
Yes. Is Sevilla, I see one question, is Sevilla pretty LGBT friendly? Yes, yes.
I have another question, but it's more about like electrical devices. So my cousin, she studied abroad in Scotland, and she said that a lot of the devices she had needed an adapter to plug into the wall. Is that the same case for Spain?
Yes, so I'll have a picture of it for you. Most everybody orders them like off Amazon in like packs of like 4 or 6. You don't need a converter. So we're on a different voltage here. It's 110 in the US and it's 220 in Spain. So, and I'll talk to you about this more at the Visa workshop, but you will bring an adapter. You can also buy them even cheaper once you get to Seville, but you'll want a couple in case your phone dies, you know, in the airport or while you're traveling. You want to be able to charge your phone and be fully prepared always. But you won't end up bringing like your own straighteners, your curling irons, because if yours goes up to like 200 degrees times 2, then it's 400 degrees. It's going to burn your hair off. So there are little things that you'll learn between now and then, but you will bring an adapter, not a converter.
I also have a question about, I guess, the cell service. Will we still be able to use our own devices from here, or will we need to purchase another carrier?
So it depends on your phone, but 99.9% of everybody that goes ends up using just swapping out a SIM card and getting a Spanish SIM card and paying monthly. So it's a lot cheaper in Spain. You can get almost unlimited data for about 30 euros a month. And you just want to make sure to keep your SIM card safe for when you get back to the States, because they are not free here like they are in Spain. Now, certain phone carriers like AT&T, for example, they will not let you unlock your phone unless it's paid off. So you need to, you know, pay attention to those details. You can also pay for like a daily rate through your carrier on the days that you travel. So it's like $10 a day sometimes for AT&T, for example, on the day that you travel. It's not a bad idea because you're kind of in limbo. You don't have service in the States, you don't have service in Spain, but it's going to be a lot cheaper if you just do it in Spain.
And I would recommend making sure that your phone is unlocked with your carrier before you come, because it may not be. Just double check.
Perfect.
Any other questions? If anyone thinks of something later, feel free to email me It's just sarah.pink, ttu.edu. Feel free to email me. Thank you for joining us today. We really look forward to having you in Sevilla and meeting you in person.